not sure if James and I have known each other any longer than the rest of the collaborating pairs. I think we spent more hours together. I was a student of James's at Kingston University, and I used to absolutely torture him in seminar. It was my goal that by the end of the 2 hours with me, he would have to go home and hide his head under a pillow because he would have such a horrible headache. And James, in turn, tried to do the same thing to me as a student. And then the degree ended, and we grew up a little bit. We matured, as children do. We realized that we really had more in common than we had difference, as you do when you grow up and you realize that you have a shared experience with your siblings, that you have something in common with them that you don't have in common with anyone else, migraines. And you realize that you want to support them as only you know how to do, and that you want to take care of this person. And so that's what our collaboration became when we wrote Strays. James very much took care of me and listened to me writing about a certain amount of grief and trying to process it. He listened until I essentially burned myself out on the topic. And I rewrote something that he thought he had already burnt himself out on, but was wrong. So I'm going to read to you from our book, Live Data, after which I named my leopard Data. It's not data, it's data. I can say this because James is currently asleep. If you thought I was joking about the burnt out thing, he really is asleep. Data observes his cat dreaming. The android wonders what a 24th century feline might have to dream about before he lays down and turns the lights down to dream himself. The frosting is blue as a medicine or science uniform. Data is ordered to answer the phone, and he does so, then fails to wait for his duty shift for the first time. The internal chronometer of the android has malfunctioned. Any anomaly in his neural nets is pretty strange, so instead, he heads to the holodeck to discuss the phallic symbolism of knives. What is the technological problem? What about the cat? What about the Lion King he dreams he is? He prefers feline supplement number 25 and water and a sandbox, and you must talk to him. Tell him he is a pretty cat and a good cat. Do not mention the litter of lizard-like things or the sex change. When the holodeck of Data's dreams, the captain accepts a slice of cake and asks the android, "What kind of cake is this?" Data states that it is a cellular peptide cake with mint frosting. Then the android dreams of Freud, and he interprets the interfacing organisms without commenting on orgasm before Data is dismembered. Something to do with the plasma conduit. The timing the ringing returns to the command to answer the ringing. The android must respond to his enemies and the enemies of his friend by shrieking this high-pitched sound until the waking dream ends. What is wrong with the lived experience of Data?
Most of the time, or the gas mask insisted on it in the low rasp of breathing. Sometimes they're in the room, sometimes in the cages, sometimes with ass, sometimes gas mask and mucus and sperm. Sometimes people watched. Sometimes watched cameras were recording on a screen. hands around neck. Sometimes there were men in cages like grovelling animals. Sometimes wore the gas mask. Sometimes fucked in front of the men. Sometimes tried to escape was the shame was too much. Lost until the air turned black and heavy and sparks eyes. Sometimes would find naked and shivering shit all over body, shaking and bleeding. The walls more animal, captured on the screens. See faces, face, eyes filled. It was no use in the bodies found in the morning, in the parks and more. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, had been military, feel the soldiers shining in the sun, sometimes not. Later wore the gas mask. The room was empty of paper in the machine in the morning. Time filled with dust. The sky was hazy. The heat was overwhelming. The bleached sky and his eyes were missing. The black flies in the distance. Then silence, a line of walls and a handprint on a wall of dust, cordite and oil. All the lost boys, the wild boys, the dinosaur boys, boys in the dusty streets, burning, burning, the oil under a white sky.
Thank you.